friends at Tivoli Brewing Company and the Department of Communication Arts and Sciences at MSU Denver, this is Unfiltered. And here are your hosts, Jay Schrader and Dr. Samuel J.
I ended up meeting him like at a homebrew club meeting at his homebrew store, and then I ended up working at his homebrew store.
Cool.
For a long time.
Well, hey, cheers.
Hey. Cheers.
Here you go, gents. There are very few rules for this podcast. You are free to drink as much as you want and say what you want, as long as it's reasonable.
It doesn't have to be that reasonable.
Cussing is not necessarily encouraged, but it's very much accepted. So feel free. Okay, I know. If you want to be classy, that's fine too. But Jay,
you assume all the risk for anybody would be fame.
Exactly.
Yeah. We also we wield a mighty editing pen, so say what you want. We'll get rid of the bad stuff.
Wow,
I don't
doing a lot of editing.
No,
okay.
not at all.
Okay. Where are we, Jay?
I got to read it because it's a mouthful. The Intrepid Sojourner Beer Project,
which is
8th and Calumet, right?
Yeah.
Are we closer to Calumet technically?
Technically closer to Santa Fe, right? Supposing that the alley's
by
right in the middle of the
an
block.
extra 10 feet.
Yeah.
They're right next door to the Grease Monkey that I went to in college for years.
Yeah, I bought like $10,000 worth of mattresses across the street.
What is an organic mattress?
It's one that is not treated with bleach or any of those fire retardants and all of that. And so basically, and I think my wife is correct, all the shit they ban in Europe, they've also don't put in their mattresses. And so, if Europe says we shouldn't have it, then I guess maybe we shouldn't have it.
Does it have one of those tags? That,
yeah.
Do not remove?
Yeah.
Because if it's not made out of
you still can't sell a used mattress.
It's not about used. I'm talking about
Didn't you watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
It's been...
That's why Large Marge was in prison.
25 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Who are we here with? Gentlemen, will you introduce yourselves?
Please.
So I'm Andrew Moore. I'm one of the owners and the head brewer here at Intrepid Sojourner.
I am Ben Gettinger. I am Andrew's business partner. I do the fun things that do not include brewing.
You are a co-founder, though, correct?
That's right.
This is your project.
That's
you
right.
two. Okay. So,
And are we missing anybody, or is it you two from the...
We have a third owner. His name is Nick Fredman. He's in town, actually. He's in Austin, Texas most of the time. But,
Okay.
he's got a sizable and impressive marketing brain, and so he helps us out from time to time in that arena.
He's out pounding the pavement with the sales guys.
So he's
actually pop in before this is over.
He's here working for ISBP
yes
this week, today.
Yes.
Did you see that? I got the acronym right.
You did. That was very quick.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're much better when you haven't had a bunch of beer.
Yeah.
This is, wow, we should keep you fresh like this all the time.
No. It's the empanada.
How did you two meet? Or you three? How about that?
Yeah. So our mothers were sorority sisters in college at Indiana University.
Okay.
And I was out here working in beer, and Ben was finishing his JD MBA at IU.
Okay.
And so our mothers had lunch. And I think we'd met once when we were 2 or something, and neither of us remembers it.
Okay.
And said, "Oh, my son's in Colorado. He wants to start a brewery." And said, "Oh, my son's in business school. He's an entrepreneur and he's geographically agnostic." And so they set us up on a blind business date.
And look at that. Now you have a brewery.
Yeah, went back
Here
to
we are.
Bloomington,
Wow.
met at a brewery, Upland Brewing. And I impressed him with the size of my business plan. And we've been doing it. That was like 2015 or 16.
That was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, one rule, don't shut your mics off, because if it shuts one off, it'll shut the other one off.
I don't think anybody did.
shut it off.
We're good.
No, you guys are fine.
You're good.
We'll know because I won't.
It says on.
Oh, yeah.
It's halfway. Well, it's because you went to IU. I mean, you're always halfway on. I'm a Hawkeye, so I have to. Yeah. Big
Been
Ten
more
love.
fun lately.
Yes, it
Be
has.
nice.
It has. Okay, so business brains, brewing brains. When were you brewing? Were you brewing in the closet in the dorm room, or how was that working?
Started brewing in graduate school with some friends. I was out here doing grad school at CU Boulder, and I had a couple friends who were like, well, let's back up. When you're in graduate school, like the only thing to do outside of school is drink beer because it's the only thing open.
Correct.
Like when you're done at the end of the day. So there was a lot of beer drinking. There's a lot of karaoke singing, and we were like, hey, we should brew our own beer. We'll save all this money, right? Well, it's like $150 for brewing equipment, $50 for a 5-gallon batch, $200, makes 50 pints, $5 a pint. It's $250. We're already saving money, right? This is the kind of math that humanities grad students do. And
$50 a head on the first batch.
$50 a head on the first batch, and
everything's gravy after that.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, we're sitting here. He didn't save us any money. But I mean, stayed in Colorado and just kind of fell in love with the creativity of it, and sort of joke like kind of fell in love with all the Colorado stereotypes like plaid and homebrewing and 14ers and bluegrass
and beards.
I was going to say the beards. Yeah. Ben conveniently is lacking a beard.
He's the professional. He's the business professional.
The business guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't if you wanted to. Is that what you said? Okay.
So wait, what did you study in grad school then?
Classical archaeology.
Oh God. Yeah.
So it's mostly like Greek and Roman and earlier, or Mediterranean archaeology.
So my PhD is in rhetoric.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I know the classical Greeks.
Yeah, so ethos and pathos.
And logos and all that stuff that nobody wants to even give a shit about anymore. But
my eyes are
I know you're
glazing over
falling
already.
Asleep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank God there's beer here.
And did you know you wanted to be in beer, or this was just
So not necessarily beer. I've never been as huge of a beer geek until I got into the industry. Although, like, even in college, I was, like, the guy with craft beer in my fridge. I never homebrewed or anything like that. No, I knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. That was the sort of goal of my graduate degree, and figured something low-tech. I've never felt that attracted to the tech industry, and I can't imagine a better industry to have stumbled my way into than beer. Pretty great.
That's perfect.
Perfect, yeah. It's awesome. And how did you guys... How long did it take? What was the courtship like after that first blind business date?
I had been like looking at property off and on. That was maybe the first big challenge, was like finding the right place, right? It's because you're both a manufacturing facility and a bar essentially, and so you need we call the reverse mullet, like the party in the front and the work in the back. And
well, you screwed up on your location. Let me just tell you, like right off I-25, 6th and 8th Avenue. Everybody can see you.
Yeah, we like being in the arts district. We like being sort of with like-minded, creative people.
Is this the sales guy?
There he is. This is our third owner.
Okay,
Nick,
how you doing,
so,
Sam? Nice to meet you as well. This is Jay.
How you doing, Nick? Nice to meet you.
So the third Nick, introduce yourself real quick.
Oh, he's Gonzo. I think he's got a.
Hey, I'm Nick. I'm one of the owners. I do a little bit of everything: some marketing, some branding with Savannah. Help out with sales occasionally. Try some beers. Come in for parties.
Come in for parties.
Sounds perfect.
That's a badass job.
Market research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're scouting out locations and all of this, and
so
then
we looked kind of all over the state for years off and on. We've been looking, and it started with a spot in Louisville that didn't work out.
When you and I finally started talking, you had a lead on a place in Louisville that did not work.
So we found this place fairly early on. Yeah, we signed the lease in like April of 2016.
Okay.
And then opened in May of 2017.
Okay. All right. So you were putting equipment in there right away and getting things up and running.
It was 4 walls and a lumpy dirt floor and what passed for a roof, and that was it.
What used to be here?
It was a laundry. Well, so where we're sitting, it was a convenience store.
Okay.
And then the rest of the building was a laundromat.
Luckily, no dry cleaning.
No dry cleaning.
Yeah.
But
that's huge.
It was initially built as a garage.
Yeah, you can sort of tell it was built as a garage, and but the utilities were great for brewing too, because of all the washing machines.
Oh, yeah, the laundromat
all
was
the electric and all the water that we needed, and
perfect. Save you a few bucks on build out at least right there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't have to upgrade the panel or anything crazy
other than
like
that. Yeah, like Ben said, we basically took it down to 4 walls. We've got photos, I think, of like a bobcat. Like sitting in the middle where the bar is now.
Okay. Like the piece of equipment, not like the animal. Like you came in.
We don't have a mascot.
Okay.
But if you were going to have a mascot,
a bobcat would be good.
That would be.
I think that's got to be the next T-shirt or something.
Yeah. Just a bobcat in the
right. That's awesome. Yes. So was there any convincing that you had to do with him, or you had to do with him, or you guys
we sat down for quite a while at Upland, kind of went over the whole business plan, and it seemed like he had a vague idea what he was talking about. I'd learned a little bit. surely I sampled at least a couple of your beers. And pretty quickly I was like, well, it seems like you know what you're talking about. You're like, you got a lead on at least the beginning part of funding, and this is exactly what I want to be doing. I just finished my third summer of a corporate internship and was thrilled to be able to tell them, no thanks, I'm going to start a brewery.
Okay, that's otherwise known as ready to shoot yourself. I think.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
but you're kind of like a 2-in-1, right? You get your JD and your MBA.
Yeah,
so
I started doing an MBA, doing an entrepreneurship track, and got a lot of advice that if you'd like to start a business or help out a small business, a law degree is useful. So I thought, sure, I'll add on a couple years of grad school, milk my time in Bloomington for all I can. And
was it good advice?
Yeah, I suppose so. I was able to do all our formation documents like in a clinic during my last year of law school. So did all that myself with a professor.
Convenient.
Did not have to hire that out. And even today, like 99% of questions I'm able to handle on my own. When I do have a legal question, I know exactly what to tell a lawyer, what I want them to tell me, and I know to cut it off after 6 minutes after the first billing intervals.
That's awesome. Okay, so you got this thing. You're building it out. The business plan's there. What were you thinking in terms of name, because it's a unique name, and then just brand and brand culture in general? What were the thoughts early on?
So one of the things we felt like given the beer climate in Colorado and sort of where we felt like it was going, we wanted to have something that was sort of unique about us as opposed to just being another place where you can get the same sort of 6 basic beer styles. So we looked at breweries who had sort of done this really well, like I think Fiction Brewing, for example, or Cerebral, or like Strange, have sort of positioned themselves really well and do something kind of unique. And then the name, we were originally Sojourners Brewing Project, and were unable to secure the copyright.
Yeah, we tried to trademark Sojourners Brewing Project. Unfortunately, in the Atlanta airport, there is a Caribbean food counter service restaurant called Sojourner's Cafe. They don't even sell alcohol, but because of that, it's in the food and beverage area. We couldn't get it trademarked. Wow. And they said if you add a prefixed adjective, that'll help the trademark go through. Okay. So we got a long email chain with the two of us and with Nick trying to figure out what the name should be changed to, and ultimately, for better or worse, we doubled down on something unpronounceable that nobody knows what it means.
No, it's attractive.
I can pronounce it.
You did.
Right?
The fact that you pronounced it,
nailed it.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. So, some of us can pronounce it. Now, tell us what it means then.
So, an intrepid sojourner is like a brave traveler or a hardy adventurer, and so a lot of our beers initially were inspired by the traveling that I had been fortunate enough to do while I was working as an archaeologist. So a lot of Eastern Mediterranean, so Turkish coffee stout, basil IPA, chamomile, Hefeweight, some of those beers. And
those were the OG homebrews.
Yes, the OG homebrews. And the idea with Intrepid was that we could sort of open that up to influence from all over the world. These kind of international culinary inspired beers that kind of tell a story about the places that they're from.
So how much of that, I know we're talking about the name, but how much of that experience in those regions has influenced the kind of beer you make? Obviously, a lot. But what is the culture of beer in those areas? Because I think we overlook.
Terrible.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I worked primarily in the Middle East, right? In public, at least, it's not illegal, right? But there's a religious prohibition against consuming alcohol in Islam. And so outside of major metropolitan areas like Istanbul, no one drinks beer in public. Okay. So beer is for sale everywhere. It appears, empty cans appear in the trash can, but you never see anyone consume alcohol. And there's one brewery, right? And it makes one sort of light lager. And that's what
owned by InBev.
Yes,
no, actually, probably
just sold actually to InBev, right?
Yeah.
It's
called FS.
Okay,
it's named after Ephesus, the Greco-Roman city on the west coast of Turkey, and it's just like a light lager. They do an FS dark version. Sometimes you can find, but Turkey's fairly progressive. Like if I worked in Jordan, and there just isn't. There's no beer in Jordan.
Okay. But I guess you're getting flavors though over there.
Yeah.
Is it coming from the tea? I mean, is it?
Well,
is
so
it,
a lot of it's coming from the food.
the food. Okay.
Like growing up in Indiana, like our favorite spices were salt, which is not a spice. And
my grandma used to say that was protein. You got to have the protein. Here's the I think you're wrong, Grandma. That is not. That's just a heart attack. Okay.
But yeah, I was just sort of blown away by the flavors in the food and all the spices and some of the different vegetables and plants. Eggplants and all of these kind of Middle Eastern spice blends, or the Ras Al Hanout and these kinds of things that were so different from my experience prior to that.
Okay.
And were you brewing already at this point? Or?
Not at first. By the end, yeah, we're definitely brewing. And, I had friends working in Italy and friends working in Greece and friends working in Egypt. So we were all kind of putting our brains together to think about, basil, for example, or lavender, right? Lavender is big in France. It's big in Italy. So we were all kind of focused on these Mediterranean ingredients.
And at this time, you were just trying to find your way in a bunch of internships? Or?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
So 4 years of grad school. I did a summer at AT&T and a couple summers at a big diesel engine manufacturer in Indiana.
Okay.
And that's fine. It's a fine life, but it was now or never to try something like this.
For sure. I mean, this is as far west as us Midwesterners tend to get. I think people think, "Oh my God, you're so far." Well, there's water if you keep going further, but yeah. This is.
You gotta try hard though.
The Big Ten contingency in this town is crazy.
It's huge.
There's just
Yeah,
everybody,
everywhere.
and even the Dayton guy, right? I mean, we just had a Dayton guy. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, when our assistant brewer is from Ohio.
Okay.
Nick is from Indiana. Savannah's from Indiana.
Jeez, wow, look at
it's
that.
sort of an unspoken prerequisite to work here. You have to be from the Midwest.
You guys ask for the birth city on the resume? That's you're not allowed to ask for an age or a sexual gender, but you're like, okay, what zip code were you born in?
What do you really think about Bobby Knight? Let's go. 150 words, please answer as well as you can. So, I mean, how much of that upbringing has influenced kind of what you're doing here, knowing that everybody's from the Midwest? What do you see that kind of stuff finding its way in how you operate, but also how you show yourself to the public, or is it? You ever talk about that?
That's a good question. I mean, I do think especially people from the East Coast maybe have a different approach to things like work-life balance and interpersonal conflict. And there's certainly
swallow that a little bit more often and don't talk about it.
Yeah, there's certainly
we're very polite.
Yeah, we're a very polite bunch here. I suppose that helps us all get along fairly well.
No, my parents were just in town for 3 days, and it was the same. This is awkward. Okay, yeah. You shouldn't be doing that, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay.
Yeah, we apologize far too often.
Yeah, exactly.
We apologize for everything.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's probably good that you got out of your corporate gig early.
I agree.
Yeah.
Too nice.
You got to be able to blow up every once in a while in a corporate setting and just leave people scared for a few minutes. Like, what the hell just happened? I can't imagine that happens here. It is too friendly. Not too friendly. It's extremely friendly.
It is very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is tell me about the ideology behind the beer just in general. I mean, as you are making the staples but also experimenting, what kind of conversations are you having?
So what kind of conversations are we having? I mean, ideally, on a I guess sort of a higher level. I want, one of my favorite things is when you make a beer, for example, Turkish coffee stout, and somebody comes in and they have one and they're like, oh, this reminds me of the time I went to Istanbul 5 years ago, or oh, I've always wanted to go to Turkey, and they pull one of the travel guides off the shelf and they start thinking about their next trip, and sort of telling that story and connecting people either to those memories that they have or those memories that they like to make. I think it's a lot of fun. I think beer and food, the somatic quality of food is sort of uniquely able to do that, right? We probably all have memories. We're like, oh, every time I smell such and such, I think of this one time.
Yeah.
But on a more sort of mundane level, a lot of our beers start in cookbooks,
okay,
right? And what kind of flavors go together.
Wow.
And in a kind of a unique way, so in the sense we're not reinventing the flavor wheel, but we're taking these combinations that show up in cooking all the time and sort of extending them to beer in a way that hopefully highlights some of the regions again that they're from.
That's awesome.
Are you choosing your travels and your adventures now based on the next beer you want to make?
Yeah, we've been kind of joking. we started this internationally themed brewery, and Ben and I just live in this building.
Yeah, that's probably tough to get away for a couple of days. And
I'm sure the world out there is still great. We haven't seen too much of it in the last 4 years.
It's
But
time for a company promoted, company sponsored sabbatical.
Exactly.
Andrew did get to take a honeymoon.
Yeah, I did take a honeymoon. My wife and I last October, we got to go down to Chile and Patagonia, and then we flew out. As a former archaeologist, I've always wanted to go to Easter Island. So we flew out to Easter Island, and my wife let me take agar plates to try to capture wild yeast.
Okay.
So we captured some wild yeast from Easter Island.
Wow.
And we've been working with Inland Island, the local Denver yeast lab.
Johnny G over at Inland Island.
Yeah. So we brewed a beer, and we're releasing on the 23rd of August with the yeast that we captured and
That's pretty
propagated
fucking cool.
from Easter Island. So I'm excited.
Is that on the tapping soon? That's probably
It's
not
not
quite
on the
up there
tapping
yet.
soon yet. It's a little too far out still.
Okay.
But
pretty awesome.
August 23rd it's a Friday. It's the date for that beer.
We should have dropped way by then, and we'll have to remind everybody that listen to this particular show to check back in here. Although you guys might sell out of the beer faster than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, everybody, we wanted to let you know that Friday, September 6th, Tivoli Brewing Company, the title sponsor here of this little podcast of ours, will be hosting their 4-year anniversary party. It's going to be at the Tivoli Tap House, overlooking beautiful downtown Denver. They're going to do things on the quad. There's going to be a food tent. There's going to be music from Velvet Compass and Gorilla Fanfare Brass Band. Everything that you need to know is going to be available on Tivoli Brewing Company's Facebook page. So head over there. Find the events tab. That's where you can get information about the tickets. Another cool thing that they're doing is they're going to be giving away some VIP tickets. And so actually, if you go to TivoliBrewingCo.com, head up there towards the top, you'll see a little tab that says promotions, and you can sign up to get a couple VIP tickets. It's going to get you unlimited Tivoli beer tasters, access to the VIP beer garden, as well as do the VIP food buffet. It's going to be awesome. Again, that's Friday, September 6th, 5 to 10 p.m. All the information you need, you'll be able to find at Tivoli Brewing Company's Facebook page. Jay and I are planning on going there. We're planning on drinking and answering questions and enjoying some craft beer and some good food and some good music. We hope to see you there. That is Friday, September 6th from 5 to 10 p.m. That is Tivoli's 4-year anniversary party. Make sure you get signed up, get your tickets, go over to Facebook.com, find Tivoli Brewing Company's page, and if you want to get those VIP tickets, you can just go to TivoliBrewingCo.com, go to the top, promotions, and you will see more information about how to sign up for that VIP. Hope to see you there.
What kind of folks do you get in here? Like the regulars, are they neighborhood folks? Are they people who are coming off the highway?
I would say roughly 50-50 with the real regulars.
Okay.
You know, we've got kind of the neighborhood folks. This is their spot. They want to drop in and hang out on a regular basis. And there's the people who just really appreciate the different things Andrew's doing with his beer. A lot of people who do or have historically homebrewed themselves.
Okay.
Who drive in from Lakewood or whatever other further flung region of Denver on a regular basis to see what we just released this week.
Nice. Okay. So, what are the ways that you're reaching those people? What's Savannah doing over there and Nick doing in terms of sales and marketing?
Yes, Savannah is the engine behind all of our promotion. She does all the social media, the website, the email blasts. We've got our rewards program and sort of the text messaging based app for that. All the graphics.
Okay.
That's her. I used to try social.
That logo is pretty sweet.
Logo is
actually.
awesome.
I dig that.
That's
I
awesome,
like that a
yes.
lot.
Handiwork.
That's pretty awesome. Sorry, what were you going to say? Did I cut you off?
I think you cut off Ben.
All social, all. What is the most productive outreach model? Is it going in and shaking hands at liquor stores, or meeting people behind the bar, or is it social media where you're having the best stickiness, I guess?
Yeah, definitely at this point, sort of our digital presence seems to be the most important one. And I suppose once we are able to get some packaged beer into stores, that will change quite a bit.
Okay.
Right now, we sort of rely on people who have access to this place geographically or have a real reason to want to come on a regular basis.
That makes sense.
And so you're not packaging yet then from the sound of it, but are you available in bars or restaurants?
Yeah.
Yep. So we've got kegs in bars and restaurants all up and down the Front Range. Not a small number. We got our sales guy who just started, and he's really ramping it up, and seems like before long you'll be able to find us in most places.
Okay.
Probably 30 spots right now.
Hey, that's a good number.
Yeah.
Don't knock it.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
we're happy. It's cool to see our beer out there. And
Yeah, it's still a trip.
it's still fun. People, we do, we get new people who come in and they're like, oh, I had your basil IPA at Stout Street or Acorn or wherever, and yeah, I wanted to come to the source, and so that's been fun too.
Do you guys ever wander into a restaurant that you didn't know or that you forgot your beer was on an account there, and then you open up the menu and you're like, holy shit, I can drink my own beer? Never happens? I feel like that would happen all the
Probably,
time.
although
Probably.
we get out so little.
Okay, all right. Refer back to the international travel conversation.
They're not very tan. I mean, they're
Usually
these poor
it's like-
guys.
Neither am I.
Well, that's for a reason.
Usually it's the other way around. It's like, this is the one night we get to go out somewhere. So it's like, call the sales guy and be like, where should we go?
Oh,
Right?
who do we owe our thanks to?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
usually it's the other way around.
Next time, call your wife and ask her where we should go.
Yeah.
Well, the honeymoon face is going to wear off real quick.
Yeah. I don't
so-
that's not advice that I've taken myself recently, but it's a polite suggestion.
Yeah, for sure.
Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, that's.
So you're up and down the Front Range. Is there a particular spot that's selling the hell out of this stuff, or is it just kind of everybody likes it and it does pretty well everywhere?
There's some big beer bars downtown who seem to buy quite a bit of it.
Okay.
The Tap 14s and the First Drafts and some of those spots that really pride themselves on having big, varied beer lists.
Yeah, and we have a nice relationship with like Stout Street Social and Le Meridian Hotel Bar.
Okay.
Moves a lot of blueberry lemon time.
Yeah, and then we've got a brand new restaurant just down the street from us called Pistol Whip that's always got 2 or 3 of our beers on also.
Okay.
So
How much
nice to have
say
them
do
in the
you?
neighborhood.
How much say do you two have over? What they recommend pairing that kind of food they pair the stuff with, or is it all the sales guy, or what do you not care?
Definitely a big part of the upfront pitch, especially at a restaurant. And Andrew really supports the sales guys a lot in that regard. He's done so much thinking about.
We want to get our beer
in
in front of foodies, in front of food, especially higher end food. We've worked a lot. It's just another place we worked a lot with is Urban Farmer Denver down in the Oxford Hotel. The chef there, Chris Starkus, is an awesome dude, and we've been able to do a lot of beer and food with them. But the more we can get our sort of culinary focused beer in front of culinary people, and I think there's a lot of space for beer in that what's the right word, like level of food, right? It doesn't have to be pizza and a cheeseburger. It's great with pizza and a cheeseburger, but it's also great with some incredible 7X Wagyu steak from Urban Farm.
Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of beer that you drink with an international flair meal or something. I don't want to say exotic in a way that it makes it unattainable, but it's not a Friday night barbecue kind of a beer necessarily. It surely works that way as well, I'm sure. But if you're going to go out to a restaurant, you're going to see it someplace that's really cooking up a fine meal or something.
I think we try to kind of run the gamut as far as that goes. Like, Turkish coffee stout or, maybe some of these other like bigger complex beers, absolutely. But, on the other end of that, I feel like, ginger and lemongrass Kolsch that's coming back on here shortly.
Oh, man, I was going to say.
That's like, that's your Friday night or your lawnmower or your, So I think I think these kind of culinary beers or adjunct beers can run the whole spectrum.
Well, I guess I appreciate that there's a line there, right? There's a clear through line that goes from your experience, in Europe and in the Middle East to what you're trying to do now as you brew these beers. And so totally understand that, these need to be accessible for everybody and drinkable no matter the situation, but also the fact that you understand that these beers go really well with good food and that's okay to pair them. Like, that's a pretty good, to me, brand that is kind of clear.
And I would encourage you to pair them, and we try to do pairing of it. We just have we do like these international celebrations every couple of weeks, and we do Bastille Day every year.
Nice.
So our Herbes de Provence Saison just came out, and we had a cheese pairing. And it's just fun. So we're constantly trying to bring the food in and get it in front of people.
Yeah,
I'm having the saison. I don't know any French. Otherwise, I was going to say something in French.
You can say baguette.
Baguette. Is that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, baguette.
That's fine. You're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brie.
Yeah. No, I won't
Is that
say that
French?
one.
I would assume
It's a French cheese, isn't it?
What's cheese? I don't know.
all right.
I would assume. Yeah.
Something that I noticed that's, I think, a little bit different than a lot of the breweries that we walk into. I mean, you guys are actually pushing advertising, promoting sale of your own kegs to the public right here on the wall. Is that is it different? Or is it that different from any of your counterparts, or is it just that you guys have it accessible and available?
Yeah, I believe I saw a sign somewhere, Little Machine maybe, and I was like, well, we also need to have a sign saying people can buy our kegs.
Stole a page out of somebody else's playbook. That's all right.
Yep.
Do you see a lot of sales over the counter on the keg sign?
Not a lot. But on the occasions people have gotten them, they're thrilled. They can get something and take it to their cookout or something.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would never think that you could walk into
especially not having 6-packs and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's really
just
nice if someone wants to introduce it
It's a different direction, for sure.
So when does the packaging start? Speaking of this, I mean,
as soon as possible.
Okay.
It's a short answer. I mean, yeah, we're
barking up a couple trees right now and kind of in the due diligence process.
Yeah.
And hopefully by autumn.
Yeah.
Cans versus bottles. I feel like that's kind of a dumb question.
Cans. Yeah, the answer is cans. I mean, distributors want to move cans. Consumers want to buy cans.
Yeah.
All of the science that's gone into can lids and can linings, they're no longer an inferior container. They're now a superior container. There's like a lot of nostalgia associated with brown bottles. Like even me, I'm like, kind of want to put it in brown bottles just because.
Just for fun.
There's a part of you that's like, that's what beer is supposed to come in, right? Like 12-ounce brown bottles. Long neck bottles.
Did you know when you two started this thing that the goal would be to package and try to get it out there, or was it?
Yes, we always knew that'd be a part of the business. We want to move as much of our beer as possible, get it in front of as many people as possible. Yeah. So, we knew that was always something we wanted to try.
Now, do you have the space back there?
No, we have no space back there.
Okay.
So our options are bringing in some mobile canning here, moving all this furniture out and doing some mobile canning here in the tap room, and finding contract brewers.
Okay. So you're in the midst of those conversations now, trying to figure shit out.
I think we're pretty close. Hopefully very soon.
So we haven't had the chance to ask anybody about that. How does that work for you as a brewer when you go into contract brew? What can you step us through step by step the contract brewing process?
Yeah. Yes. Well, so there's two ways for another brewery to produce your beer. There's contract brewing, which is basically where another brewery produces it. The beer belongs to them, so you hand over your recipe. You scale it up. You sort of walk through all the logistics of acquiring the ingredients and the pricing. Then they'll produce that beer, and you buy it from them as a finished product on a per case basis, right?
So they'll typically file a DBA to print your name, your business's name on the can. They file with the government to get the labels approved.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the other option is called an alternating proprietorship, and that's where you actually go into someone else's brewery. And you have a licensing arrangement that says, well, on Tuesdays, this equipment is on my license. This fermenter is in my demarcated space on the brewery. So, in that case, we brew the beer. It belongs to us the whole time throughout the process.
And you're just
we're just using their facilities.
Okay. Yeah, you're paying a fee to borrow their stuff,
so
basically.
Maybe it's a lease. Maybe it's a per batch fee. But and that way, you have more control over.
Sure.
Your own product.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Are you seeing more of that in this space, in this area?
Yeah,
that second option.
I think you're seeing more contract brewing as the distribution market becomes more and more competitive. I feel like there's an increasing number of large breweries with extra capacity who are trying to be creative about the way they're utilizing that space, and so they're looking for contract brewing. I feel like it's often contract brewing because on some level it's because people like us, we're in a 7-barrel system, right? I'm not going to walk in and use somebody's 50-barrel or 60-barrel system. Like that's just not currently in my technical repertoire. Right. So it's like let them do it, and varying degrees of oversight and involvement is just sort of depends on the relationship with the brewery, but you definitely are, I think, seeing a lot more of it.
I mean, it makes sense from a business perspective, and I think if there's one thing that I've learned in this podcast, it is that we as craft beer drinkers,
Consumers.
are very much a small percentage of the people who drink craft beer, if that makes sense. You know, if it like, oh, you know, that brewery doesn't can their own beer, or, you know, their or the distilleries are even better example, right? Like, oh, they don't do it there. 95% of people don't give a shit. You know, like even people like we have a good palate. Like, I mean, it's just. I think that is what I've learned, I guess, and also on the marketing and sales side of it.
I feel like it's easy to talk about like get your like Colorado blinders on.
Yes.
Where like the craft beer world is much larger than Denver or even Colorado. I feel like sometimes as brewery owners and as craft beer consumers, it's hard to remember that. The
first guy that taught me that was Matt Lincecum up at Fremont. Did an interview there in February, and he was just like, "You're wrong. You're wrong." And I was like, "Oh shit!" But he taught me like all of this. You know, walked me around these facilities. Like, you know, this is a business. This is, I mean, and again, this is who consumes this. This is who listens to the podcast and drinks the beer. And I think that's very important. It's a nice breath of fresh air, I think, to hear that sometimes from brewers and brewery owners and all that. So, yeah. But, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, going the other direction, is mobile canning, I mean, if you're only on a 7-barrel system, is that really a feasible option right now? Or does it limit your distribution and production in the front end either way?
Yeah, it certainly would not be sufficient to meet our
long-term
vision, right? Yeah,
Okay.
and possibly even a medium or short-term vision,
Okay.
depending on how well things go. So, no, mobile canning would probably, at our scale, be pretty supplementary.
Gotcha.
We are talking about it. We do have a nice shiny 30-barrel fermenter back there that just needs to be hooked up to glycol. And,
Okay.
so
there's a little bit of room to grow.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's your baby? What's your favorite beer to make?
Oh man, favorite beer to make?
Favorite, I guess, at the Staples.
The next one.
Yeah,
the next one. No, I mean I love the Turkish coffee stout. That's always been one of my favorites.
Okay.
There's been a lot of that consumed over here already today. I noticed. Yeah, then we'll have to try that.
In fact, I tell you what, I can refill you two guys. I'm going to tag out and let Nick sit here first.
Oh, yeah. Let's get him in here.
We got to ask Ben real quick.
What are you
What's your
thirsty?
favorite beer to drink?
My favorite beer to drink, it changes most of the time.
Okay.
Over the long term, it's the Lavender Triple.
And the Gratzer, right?
Oh, that Gratzer, I love. Yeah, it's not on all the time, and when it has come back on the menu,
The smoky Gratzer,
It's a old Polish style that was popular before World War II. That then went out of commercial production behind the Iron Curtain. But all the malt is smoked in a kiln over oak wood, and it smells and tastes like a barbecue.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
thing.
That's cool.
Reminded me of a really smoky Scotch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the other thing, like, the Fiddlehead IPA is probably another favorite of mine right now because it's fun to like use a kind of a new and unique ingredient and introduce it to people, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. We use 4 pounds of Fiddlehead ferns, a little bit of tarragon, which is kind of bittersweet. It's in the sunflower family, and so those are fun too. When you get to do something kind of new and unique that you don't see a lot.
It sounds like you have that ability to really kind of experiment, like because of the system, because of the spot. Like you can mess around with some different things.
That was one of our goals from the beginning. It's like, we'll do a 7-barrel batch, right? We'll get it because 7 barrels is enough to brew beer for the tap room, and it's small enough that if we do something crazy and it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world.
Okay. Let's introduce Nick back.
Yeah, we got a new guy.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, Nick.
Hey,
Holla. Guys. This guy's going to put us to shame. He's the real sales guy. He's going to know how to pitch the shit out of this
No, not even a little bit.
So, how did you get involved in this whole thing?
So I got introduced to these two guys in order to talk them out of starting a brewery in Denver.
Oh, great job.
Did you really?
Yes.
You really won there.
Serious. Yep.
Oh, my God.
Yep. So one of Ben's really good buddies from college and I are great friends. And I'm from Indiana. They're both from Indiana.
Okay.
We went to IU. We both have the same degree from IU. And so I was connected with them to like be a compassionate, hey guys, the ship has sailed. Do not open a brewery in Denver, from a compassionate buddy. And not only did I love the beer, love the idea, love the concept, I'm one of the owners now.
Awesome.
So they sold me.
And how does the guy that asked you to talk him out of this feel about the result?
Fantastic. He was just here on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Actually, for his first time coming in, and they were raving about it.
Yeah, good. That's good. It's always good to prove somebody wrong.
Yes.
The right way.
Yes.
So congratulations
gotta
for
earn
that.
it.
Yeah, congratulations for that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm guessing you're the one who's kind of always having to prod these two to kind of, take risks and all of that. How are those conversations going? Being that you're all from
that's a good
Indiana and super polite, like is
Yeah,
it?
that's a good question. So I think what's interesting is that they're here day in, day out. And I think they get a much better perspective on a lot of the little things that I don't end up seeing because I'm not here as often.
Okay. Because you're in Austin.
Because I'm in Austin.
Okay.
Yep. And I was here for the first 6 months after we opened.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm able to see macro trends maybe in a different way than they are. Partially because I'm not here every day. Partially because I'm in other markets. So I spend a lot of time in Portland and a lot of time in San Diego as well because I have family in both.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So I try to go to each one once a quarter just to check out the new breweries that are there, kind of see what's popular style-wise. And so often I'll come back with an idea, and then Andrew's like, cool, but I want to do it this way because this is my way of doing it. And then I'm like, awesome. Fiddlehead's an example of like, we've talked about doing different IPAs at different points in time. We try to brew it at one point, and I think Andrew's perspective is, hey, if we're going to do this, we want it to be our version of this style. We want it to be, with different ingredients, different flavors, not something the consumer might necessarily appreciate in a beer, but something that they maybe have like a relationship with. So back to the Fiddlehead again, we had a guy in yesterday who was like, wow, my grandma used to cook with these every day. Like, this reminds me of something I had growing up. I've never had this in a beer before. And we really want to have that experience for people where they're just like, I've never tried something like this. This is blowing my mind.
That's awesome.
You can taste so much of the spice in every one of these beers. I mean, even that IPA, right? Like everything, it's got so many layers and just solid, experience on the palate. Like, this is nice work.
Yeah,
nice
thanks.
work. And this
Thanks.
is delicious. Holy shit.
They're both. I mean, the blueberry lemon thyme is amazing.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, I mean, that was what Nick
Yeah.
was just talking about, coming out of this process where, like, looking at the market and like, oh, maybe the market needs a lighter, fruitier beer. And we said, all right, well, let's try blueberry lemon thyme. I'll do it my way.
There's lots of time in beers, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
But we're playing with it. We're changing it up. We actually have we have a new beer coming out called Strawberry Cucumber Lemon.
Ooh.
It's taking the place of blueberry lemon thyme. And
Taking
I
the
think
place of it.
Yeah.
we're gonna roll through, a couple different fruit style
Yeah.
beers and
It's
see what.
just been so
well.
fucking hot.
Yeah.
That a light fruit beer is actually like, it doesn't matter. I'm not worried about what anybody thinks about me drinking a blueberry lemon thyme on a 95-degree day.
Well, it's kind of fun to say, right? Like blueberry lemon thyme.
Yeah.
Is that-
What time is it?
So let me ask then, Nick, I guess going back to the heat fucking thing, you have to be seeing stuff in Austin where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that makes sense here in the middle of June and July and August.
Yes.
Okay. What
Yeah, for sure.
what are you seeing down there that's influential?
Seltzers.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Seltzers everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So partially too, just because Austin has Topo Chico and has like a big community around seltzers to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
So a lot of breweries have adopted that. The other thing that I've seen that's really big is the kind of fruit forward hefts and wits. So a lot of things where it'll be like, like a watermelon hef, that kind of a thing. But where rather than the hef being the forward part, the fruit being the forward part. So people are finally starting to experiment with, and I'm going to put this in air quotes so no one else can see me, but sour hefts and sour wits. So they're not actually sour. It's more the lemonade style sour.
Okay.
So it's kind of like an Arnold Palmer, that kind of a drink.
So, I mean, you're the intrepid sojourner for this team, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's true. I am.
It is.
Yeah.
Does a lot of your travel find you sending beer back to Ben and Andrew? I mean, are you
Oh, that's a good question.
buying crowlers, shipping back
No, but you
growlers?
I really should.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're not,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why not.
That's a good question.
If you need to hire somebody to replace him and travel the world and sample beer and tell
Yeah.
you what other markets are doing, I'm happy to take over because
Now that there's about to be a job opening here.
yeah. No, it just sounds like
We got a
there's
show
room.
we could pitch a travel channel. Maybe you guys can help us
Yeah.
out.
Hey,
This
you know,
would be a good travel channel.
I'm just thinking, like, with Nick's finger on the pulse, right, of all things breweries in all these bigger cities that really probably outside of beer don't necessarily compare completely to Denver. I mean,
Yeah.
where do we stack up? What does that
Oh,
look
that's a
like
good
in
question.
Denver versus Portland or San Francisco or Austin? Those are the places you rattled off, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yep. So that's a really good question. Okay.
we're
So
here
I'll
to
be
ask
blunt. No, this is
hard-hitting
a good one.
questions.
So I've been to Portland and San Diego within the last 2 months, and It was actually 10 degrees hotter here than it was in Austin when I flew out.
Makes sense. Yeah.
As an aside
That's
there.
insane.
Chinese hoax, that global warming.
What I have seen across the board is that all those other markets outside of Austin's I'm going to leave separate. All the West Coast is now completely enraptured with everything hazy IPA.
Yeah, I was looking at the old menu there.
So to the point where you get these very weird, interesting blends of hazy IPA because they're trying to do a Westy hazy IPA, or a session 4.2% hazy IPA kind of thing. So you're getting into this weird place where every once in a while they hit and they're good, but you're also getting a lot of really unbalanced beers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they mentioned this earlier, but part of what got me into beer, so I went through the BJCP program 10 years ago.
Okay.
And went and got trained at Siebel and was very into like judging competitions, and that's kind of how I got my start in the industry and in the space. And I still have like a little part of me that loves and really wants a really good, solid, basic style before you add anything else on top of it. I think that's really important because if the beer can't stand alone without anything that you're adding to it, you're kind of just like trying to squirt some juice in at the end in the hopes of making it a palatable beer.
Right. The foundation is key, I would say. We were just someplace the other day where Novel Strand, and he looked at me. I ordered the Pilsner, and Tamir goes, that is the second best Pilsner.
Yeah.
I keep saying the state of Colorado, but he's like, well, it's the city, but we're going to give him credit for the state. But I think, and Tamir touched on this, the point is you've got to really perfect what people think of as the simple beers or the basics before you can go crazy with basil lemon thyme or Turkish
yes and no.
coffee.
I push back on that a little bit. I don't really like styles.
Okay.
I think often they're more like restrictive than anything else, and part of that's just the way you like think about the ingredients going into the beer. Like it's not an IPA with basil added, right? It's something else. It's a basil IPA, right? It's not a stout with Turkish coffee and cardamom added, right? It's a Turkish coffee stout, which isn't listed in the BJCP program, but it's more than just like a rhetorical device, right?
True.
It's a different way of thinking about the beer, and like I often find that the reverse of that, where you find an amazing beer, and the criticism is this isn't.
It doesn't fit a category.
I mean, it happened. It happened to us, right?
Okay.
Like when we released our first New England, they were like, this is way too hoppy for New England. What are you doing? And I'm, my response is like, well, is it a good beer? And they're like, well, yeah, sure, but it's not New England, so.
So
2 stars or whatever.
So it sounds like
I'm going to agree, but I'm going to throw down the gauntlet on something. I actually do agree with what you're saying, and there's a nuance to it, and this is where I'm throwing down the gauntlet. So if you're able to make a good, clean style as a starting point, you can't add something to it and then have it still be balanced, right? It has to be a different recipe because the ingredients are going to impact it. Like if you think about making a soup, because beer is essentially delicious soup. And if you think about making a soup, you're boiling a soup. If you add an ingredient to it, you're changing the pH levels, right? You're affecting the water. You're affecting the chemical composition of everything. And so everything's going to come out differently. And the problem with styles is that it puts everyone's mental capacity, their expectation, into a bucket. So if I tell you I'm making a tomato soup, Campbell's comes into your head immediately. And so anything anyone's trying is either like it's a crazy bisque thing or it's Campbell's. And if you're not doing one of those things, it's not a tomato soup, right? But the same thing tends to happen around beer. And if you want to make a beer and not call it a style, this is what I was saying, Unibrew. Like one of my favorite breweries in the world is up in Canada. They don't make anything according to any style. They're never going to win a medal at GABF. They're just never going to. They don't care. But they make some of the most delicious beer. Like La Fin du Monde is one of my favorite beers in the entire world. And it's, they've renamed it 4 different styles over the years based on whatever consumers are buying. Because they know that consumers are the ones that drive that.
Because they can.
Because they can.
So what I'm hearing is, according to Nick, basics are key.
Our show always gets better about a beer and a half in.
Yeah, that's where shit gets really crazy. But listening to Andrew doesn't, and I think maybe there's a distinction here too between brewers, right? You have brewers that are going to brew a basic IPA, and then they're going to throw shit into it. And then you have brewers like Andrew who set out on a journey with basil and thyme and lemon to create a basil, lemon, thyme IPA. Right?
Humans love to put things in buckets.
Sure.
It helps us understand the
I keep
world
thinking
from
in terms
the
of
youngest
box
age.
rhetoric.
This is what
Par
makes Andrew
excellence.
such a brilliant brewer is his ability to seamlessly see things as they relate to flavor like on a spectrum and not need to put things in boxes to understand a concept like flavor.
I feel like
thanks.
I'm more enlightened.
I think, but like I do, I mean, maybe we're talking past each other a little bit, but like,
I think so.
I do think like, if I go to, oftentimes I think it's funny, one of the differences I see between like people in the industry and consumers of craft beer is like consumers of craft beer will walk into a new brewery and they'll order the IPA and they'll often base their opinion of the brewery on that IPA, and brewers will often walk into a brewery and order the Pilsner and base their opinion on that brewery on the Pilsner, right? Because it's one of the most like technically complicated, right? We want to know, like, do you clean your equipment, right? Basic things like that, right? What does a Pilsner taste like? There's no off flavors in the lightest, most delicate lager that you've got on the menu. Then, you're starting from a good
There's no
place.
dirty secrets in the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that we've kind of talked past too is that a lot of breweries, what they'll do, and I don't want to knock on this because you can come up with some really cool things this way, but they'll start with a base beer, they'll make 6 variations of it, put them all on draft and see, hey, which ones actually turned out okay? Because we have no idea. We weren't intentionally hoping this would work. We're just going to let you, the consumer, experiment and then tell us which worked. And our approach is very different. It's that ahead of time, Andrew's saying, okay, these are the basic flavors we're going to start with. What malt profile, what hop profile, how carbonated does this need to be? What should the color and the texture be like of the beer in order to complement all of these other ingredients and come out as a complete package? And that's why if you look on the menu, there's no same base beer that's funding all these different things. It's unique recipes for each
There are
thing.
no styles up there either. They're like
Yeah.
tiny. You have to ask for them.
Yeah.
Because we really want it to be about the different unique flavors that are in the beer.
And I think that's achieved, frankly, because usually I would order based on, this is a light beer, this is an amber, this is a whatever. But reading names of beers, I was like, fuck yeah, blueberry lemon thyme. I'm going to give that one a shot.
Yeah.
So much of this has to do with our brief history with craft brewing, though, not just here in Colorado, but as a culture, as a country in general, right? We have to go and look at those established categories in order to rate and review and understand what we're drinking. And I wonder if as we go through decades and decades of this, if it changes, if these categories change, and if we're if they just don't matter anymore. And I think this seems inevitable.
And not only do they change, but something. We were thinking about like the upcoming Great American Beer Festival.
Right.
For breweries, it's already upcoming. And
You guys have been thinking about it for a while at this point.
Yeah.
But it's like categories. You also like not only do they change and we get new ones or we change old ones, but they also like we have to understand them in the right way, right? Like it's nice to have categories for a competition like the Great American Beer Festival where you could submit according to a category and say, these are the beers in this. Let's judge these beers together against each other, kind of a thing. I think the problem is the disconnect is that then often the consumer looks at that and says, "Oh, that means this is a tasty beer."
It's a good tasting beer, which is false.
Which is false, right? Like, and it's the same thing that comes up with like beer rating websites and things. Like, you're never going to get I say never, but you're probably never going to see a 5-star Irish Red, right? It's probably just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You see plenty of
disappointing.
5-star hazy IPAs and plenty of 5-star Russian Imperial Stouts, but it's not because it's not maybe the best Irish Red that's made in the world right now, but it's because it's just it's personal preference. So we often conflate the two.
Yeah.
Which is is problematic.
So talking about GABF then for a minute, and then I don't know, Sam's probably got something going here. What do you guys see more value in at GABF then? Is it more important or more valuable for you guys to pick a couple of categories and tailor make a beer to enter for judging? Or do you find that general outreach and sitting in a booth and sharing your beer with tens of thousands of people with pretzels around their neck is more important? I mean, or is it both, right?
Well, and I'd be curious to hear what Nick has to say. I think that at the end of the day, the best thing for the business is medals in what we're good at, right?
Okay.
So Spicer, vegetable beer, experimental beer, historical beer. These are the things that we do, right? These are the things breweries will tell you, you won a gold medal at GABF. It's an automatic, X amount of dollars in sales.
Is it really? I mean,
People say, look at that beer and they're like, this is an objectively good beer, right?
Okay.
And that's an objectively good brewery.
And that's an objectively good brewery. They know what they're doing. They've mastered the craft of making beer, whatever that means. And
but is that okay? Now I'm going to push back on
Sure.
both of you. Okay,
Yep.
To who? To who? Who cares?
Consumers.
the consumer.
Who? Like I can't imagine my dad, who will drink the shit out of a pseudo Sue,
Yeah.
great
Sure.
beer, right?
Yep.
Doesn't give a shit about awards. He just likes that beer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What percentage of consumer goes into the liquor store and cares about that GABF medal or the World
Well,
Beer
it's-
Cup medal?
I think it's more passive than that. I think it's like
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know the consumers like going into the liquor store and like looking for the GABF medal on the can.
Okay.
But the studies that they've done suggest that if I give you 2 glasses of blueberry lemon thyme, and I say the beer on the left won a medal,
course.
a gold medal at GABF, every single person, every single one is
Yeah.
going to say that
We're
beer
just
on the
trying to
left
get blue
tastes
ribbons.
better.
Honestly, we want blue ribbons on
Yeah.
all our beers.
Well, what's your
That-
favorite?
that's what sells.
I mean, what's your as a brewer? I guess. What's your favorite gathering, festival, conference,
Yeah.
what have you, to go
Good
to,
question.
in which you can kind of you and other brewers can riff off each other? Because we Zach
really
over
good
at
question.
Mockery loves the one in Salida, right?
Yeah,
Where
the
it's like brewers
Rendezvous.
take your shit and like, what's your favorite?
And I feel like in Denver we're entirely too attached to GABF
Yeah.
because we own
Sure.
the product,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So
Well, and I'm not trying to like knock GABF.
no. But
I mean, I think we always try to get into the meet the brewer section.
Okay.
And I think at the end of the day, like there's value in that, right? Because people know that we're staffing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they come, they meet employees and owners, brewers.
I love seeing what the other breweries are doing too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the best way for us as people in the industry to get exposure to what
And again,
3,000 of our
it's like
friends are doing.
taking off those Colorado blinders, right?
Yeah.
Like Salida is awesome, but it's
Still Colorado.
65
Yeah.
Colorado breweries.
Yeah.
We're all kind of doing the same thing.
it's just
like,
a little bit more
right,
redneck
CDC
of an
is, I
event.
think, my answer. Is
yeah,
my answer to
okay.
that
We
question.
love CDC.
And that moves
I think
around.
CDC. And in part because it does move around, and in part because you're getting a lot more folks in the industry that are not going to blow smoke up your ass about what they think of your beer.
Sure.
You know, they're not coming in to just say, "Hey, everything you guys do, I love everything about you. You're my favorite." you
Yeah.
know?
It's
They're
not 30.
starstruck.
Yeah,
There's
it's
nothing
not
about
30,000 consumer tickets.
No.
Yeah.
I love
See,
as another festival I love is Big Beers Belch.
Yeah.
Is a bar one.
Yeah.
I also just love big beers. Right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this lawnmower beers and stuff earlier. Like part of it, it's totally okay with me if you just come in and slowly drink 2 beers. Like it's fine to consume beer that way.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
rather than pound 5
yeah. I mean, you can do that
and
too,
go back
but,
to
like,
work 20 minutes later.
I'm waiting for barley wines to come back. I was talking
Yeah.
about this at lunch today. It's my favorite style.
Is it?
They're out right now.
Ooh.
They're not in.
Will you guys
English
make
style
one
barley
here?
wines.
Will you make one?
We would. We
Yeah.
haven't. We've made a couple Russian Imperial stouts, a couple like quads. We do some historical styles. We do a sati, which is like a Finnish saison,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who else did a
Zach
Sati?
did
That was
earlier.
Zach
Yeah,
at Mockery.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've done an imperial version of that, which we were super happy with. And so we do some really big beers, but like Nick was saying, it's 4 years ago you couldn't keep a big beer on the shelf in a bomber in a liquor store, and now it's hard
That's a
to
really
sell
good point,
5
yeah.
barrels of big beer in a reasonable
Everyone's got
amount of
barrels
time.
aging something in their corner.
Right.
So
right.
true. Are you doing any barrel
yeah,
aging?
There you go.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of
Stole my
barrels over
question.
here
Hiding in the corner.
hiding in the corner.
Oh, literally.
They really are. Yeah.
I think somebody's got their cell phone sitting on top of one. That's like I didn't even notice.
So we
I just thought you guys were living there, you two.
yeah.
Sometimes.
when they're empty, we just curl up, and take the heads
Yeah.
off, and curl up.
Gotta inspect the bugs, right?
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, we get in there with a magnifying glass. So yeah, we got sour in the 2 on the left. It's actually a collaboration with a friend of ours, Dos Luces Brewing.
Yeah.
South
Oh
Broadway.
yeah.
So we do a beer called a Flanders Purple, and it's based on a Flanders Red, but it's done with purple and blue corn, like chicha from Dos
Yeah.
Luces. So it's this really cool purple color, and we're aging it in tequila barrels.
Ooh.
And so we're really excited about that. We tasted the other day. It tastes really awesome.
Sam, I don't think you haven't been into Dos Luces yet, have you, Sam?
I have not.
I've
Oh,
been
you
in
should
a couple.
definitely go
I've been
down.
in a
It's
couple
really
of
cool
times.
what
Yeah,
Joe's doing
it's got a great
down there.
place.
Yeah, we've got some quads and some stouts aging in some of the other barrels, but yeah, I mean, I love that style of beer. But
Yeah.
again, like Nick said, it's right now is not the time.
Okay. Where do we find this stuff, Nick? Will you tell us, sell this to everybody who's going to listen to it? Because we are building up our listenership.
All right.
One lazy.
Yeah, where
listener
can we
at a
find
time.
it in here in Denver, and wherever? Like what?
That's a fantastic question. So, first and foremost, come into the tap room here at 8th and Santa Fe. That's the best. We'll have everything. We'll have things you can't find in any of our accounts. But you also get to talk to one of us about the beer and go through the experience because, again, it's a lot of unique flavors and it's not style-based. So you're actually going to have to find out what you like on a new level. And yeah, it's familiar. It's not that ridiculous. But it is a little bit different. And I think one of the things that you can have happen, especially when you go into an off-premise place, is a different experience where you don't know what you're getting and you don't have the right glassware, etc.
Yeah.
That being said, we do have some really cool accounts. So who should I plug? Who do you guys want me to plug?
Who'd you like when you saw him the last couple?
So, well, I will say this. Pistol Whip down the street is awesome.
Okay.
They've got a couple of our lines right now. We just went in and put a couple new things on that no one else is going to have quite yet. First Draft. Often has stuff from us too. And we did a tap takeover there a little bit earlier. In October, we've got 2 tap takeovers coming up. Those are going to be fun. So one is at, Station 14?
Tap 14.
Tap 14 in
The other
Uptown.
one, yeah. And then
Stout Street.
Stout Street Social.
When are those happening?
So Stout Street is in August.
Yeah.
So we'll be there Brew of the Month for August.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Tap 14 is October.
We're out here on GBF.
Yeah. And then September will be the featured brewery at the Denver Zoo.
Yep.
Oh,
So
that's
check out the
cool.
elephants and
Have
drink
a beer or
some,
two.
I gotta
Feel
find
free
a,
to share that with us too, because we'll share it on our page. And
yeah, we're
so.
trying really hard to
We also
push
sell
that for people
Le
that are.
Meridian. It's a
Yeah.
hotel bar downtown. One of the best rooftop patios in the
best.
city.
The
Which
Maybe
hotel is
the-
this?
I think it's the best. So this is my first time going in there. It was recently, and it's about a block and a half from the convention center. It's the Le Meridian Hotel,
Okay.
and center of downtown, and they have a 20th story, like the rooftop bar.
Huh.
It's got about 270-degree views. It's open, so during the summer it's fantastic. They've got, nice cool breeze coming through, a little bit
Misters,
of
maybe.
misters. They do have misters, and it's beautiful. And they've got a beer of ours, sometimes
Awesome.
too.
Sounds
Cool.
like a sponsor. We should
Yeah.
talk to.
We're
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
We're always looking for more more.
We
meat
can't
for
sponsor breweries.
more
We
meat
can
for the
sponsor
beast
people
in
who
the
serve
show.
beer,
And
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen,
Yeah,
thank you
cheers.
so much. Savannah's back there.
Cheers.
Savannah,
Yeah.
thanks for taking pictures.
Thank you guys so much. This was
So make
great.
sure that you come to the Intrepid Sojourner in between Calumet and Santa Fe on 8th, and everybody here will welcome you with open arms. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please come on
For
in.
for the record, 8th only runs westbound.
Yeah.
So you got to really think
If you're
about
going the other way,
think about
You
your
gotta be
approach.
prepared.
Yeah.
Be in the right lane.
don't go the other way. You'll end up in jail. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
night.
Thank you.
Cheers.
When they come to take you down, when they bring that way